Hey guys, I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Whether you're watching this in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening, I'm glad you're here. Real quickly, just want to say thank you to the channel members and thank you to anybody who's come in to watch the knife, the EDC content. I really appreciate it. If you're so inclined, if you'd hit that subscribe button and the bell notification icon, it would really help me out. So today we are going to start or continue my collection dive. This is the beginning of case number 3. So this will be video 1 of 4 for case number 3. And this is kind of my main USA made knives. Now I've moved a few knives out of this case into case 1 that we saw, like the Freak, one of my Hogue Decas, my Ritter Hogues, because I kind of keep them together in weird ways. But I'm just starting at the back row. And I'm going to go through, do 11, 10, 11, 12 knives each series, and we'll run through this in 4 days. So the first knife, or the back row, back left, is one of the first Benchmade knives that I got, and I just failed it. I got this from Blade HQ, and this is the Mel Pardieu Mini Griptilian with the flat grind. This is not the hollow ground. Just in the simple 20 CV G10 handles, very fluid axis lock, one of the smoothest Benchmades that I have. It's a little small, but that's not a problem. When I first got into knives, and even kind of now, I've transitioned back to where I like some smaller knives. And then when I found the Ritter Hogue, I didn't really have a need for a full-size Griptilian. I wouldn't be opposed to picking up another one of these in a full size, but I've got other knives that are more in demand for me right now. But this is a slicey blade. It is a very well done knife. You've got gray G10, you've got the G10 liners, the blue standoffs. It doesn't have a deep carry clip. I could put one on it, but this is not too shallow for me. I like this clip on this particular knife. You've got jimping here like you do where your axis lock is, and jimping here at the top of the blade. You've kind of got this sheep's footy, interesting blade on the Mel Pardieu Benchmade with the spidey hole in it. So it's a little bit unique in that it's got the hole instead of the thumb studs. It's got the blade that I love, which is what drew me to the knife in the first place. It's got a great sharpening choil. Now, probably my first, I think this was my first Benchmade. So this is the mini grip out of case number 3, the USA case. And moving on, we're going to see a lot of Benchmades in this particular video. The next one is a knife I picked up at my local St. Nick's when it was here. They've closed the shop at the mall and they moved it out to Athens. But this is the Benchmade Mini Locos. I picked this guy up about 3 years ago when I first got into the hobby because I liked the way it looked. I liked the fact that it was thick. It's S30V. It is has Benchmade's website and first production number 953 out of 1,000. This is one of the most ergonomically pleasing, sliciest, overbuilt knives. Yes, it's overbuilt. For a Benchmade, this thing has really thick blade stock. So the blade stock's coming in at 0.1480. Behind the edge, let's go up to that bevel, 0.0190. The handle's going to be probably over half an inch, 0.5795, almost 0.98. And then it's a full-size knife, even though this is the mini Locos. I've talked to a few people who have the full-size Locos and say it is a bigger knife, kind of, I guess, like the mini Adamas and the Adamas. But this is over 7.5 inches overall, with roughly right under a 3.5 inch blade. So it's a good sized knife. It's got some really beefy standoffs here, and it's got some girth. It's the heaviest, most robust feeling Benchmade in my collection. Great hardware, Great action, great ergos. I'm a big fan, and this is the mini Locos from Benchmade. So moving on, we come to my first Grail knife back in the day. This is the Benchmade 940 Osborne, a knife that I had wanted forever. I wanted the original green. I love the knife. I love the fact that it does have a wonky grind, but it's kind of a multi-purpose knife. I think it's kind of a perfect EDC knife if you're not a finesse cutter, if you're just going to use it to cut shit, you know, whether it be cord, whether it be some cardboard, whether it be ripping into a package, whether somebody's trying to take your Slurpee, whatever the case may be. You know, this was, Osborne was an Australian rancher, the way I understand it, and designed this kind of to be an all-around ranch knife, even to clean out horse hooves. So it's a really nice package. It's got a great axis lock, perfectly centered, just an absolute banger. And that's the Benchmade 940. It's, again, going to be a larger knife, more full-sized, right under 8 inches. The Osborne has great action. I can reverse finger flick it. This is just a simple S30V, I believe. S30V, aluminum handle, not a deep carry clip. Really thin handle, great ergonomics. I love the swedge on the blade. I love this little diving tip, the sheep's footy blade. Just a snappy, great little knife. No side to side. I've never had to adjust it. Perfectly centered. This is the Benchmade 940. I liked it so much that when they came out with the Benchmade 945, I waited for them to come out with the green aluminum so I could match my other green aluminum. So this is the 945 or the 940 Mini, and this is the first production run of this little Osborne. It's an S30V also, and it is literally, it comes with a deep carry clip. The clip's a little different. The back spacer is standoffs instead of that little back spacer that goes full length, but everything else is identical, just minimized, right? So the 945 is a great little knife, great little slicer. I carry this probably more than I carried the 940, even though I got the 940 first. The action is just as snappy. It's just as centered. There's no drag on the washers. It's just a banger. I'm not a huge bar lock fan, but these are some of my favorites. I mean, it's got snap, got a great sharpening choil. For me, it's very ergonomical in the hand. I like the fact that it doesn't have jimping. It does have jimping there on the handle, but I'm usually keep my hand right here when I cut. Great little knife. Just the miniature version of the 940, the 945 in the aluminum, and we will keep moving on. So next, we come to the Benchmade Bugout. So my Benchmade Bugout started out as a Blade HQ exclusive, which was in the gray G10 with the green thumb studs and 20 CV blade. It was very light, but it was not as flimsy as the Gravry version, so I really dug it. I went through a couple of different sets of scales before I settled on these Mettenboss kind of panel style, look like an old airplane undercarriage with some different oil burns, and just to me, I think it's a really attractive package. I love this knife. I don't carry it as much as I used to. I do use it as a comparison knife every day with my Para 2, but for a light knife, an office knife, an EDC knife, a lightweight hiking knife, kind of a knife to get it all done. It's not a hard use knife, I wouldn't say, because it's not super thick, but with the titanium scales, it feels very much substantial. It feels like a tool. It doesn't feel like a toy. That kind of doesn't make sense, but if you've held the FRN, you'll know what I mean. Huge fan of this knife. can recommend the Benchmade Bugout in one of its many configurations. I think almost everybody's probably experienced one. Great knife. I'm a big fan. Benchmade Bugout. This is the OG original size Blade HQ version. And then I picked up on sale from Smoky Mountain Knife Works this little Bugout that came with Flitanium scales. It was on sale when I got it. It's a mini. It was Flitanium silver scales. I've got them somewhere. This black S30V blade, and the scales, something was tweaked about them even when it came. I think that's why it was on sale. The blade would never center. It didn't have great action. So I went back and put the G10 or the FRN scales on it, and it operated fine. So I knew it was something jacked up with the original Flitanium scales, because I've had this knife for a while. So I went to Sharp Dress Knives and found these micarta Mexican blanket scales. Ordered them because I'd had some scales for Sharp Dress Knives before for my PM2 and other knives, and they'd always fit perfectly, and these were no different. They fit perfectly, centered the knife up, gave it the action that it deserves. The mini Bugout is a banger of a little knife, exactly like the full-size Bugout, just in reverse. You've got the mini deep carry clip, you've got your axis lock, your thumb studs. This one's 20 CV because it's the Blade HQ exclusive and has a satin blade. And then this one is S30V with the black blade, but they're great little lightweight, minimalistic, functional, get it done knives. So moving on, we come to the Benchmade Mini Adamas in crew wear. Now this knife is kind of amazing. It is the most overbuilt Benchmade in my collection. It is super, what's the word I'm looking for? Resilient. It's got mud on it. Super resilient, thick blade, thick stock. I didn't really like its crew wear blade. It's a Zieba design, so it's a tactical folder, a real workhorse. I did not and was not crazy about the G10 scales that had the holes in them. So I went to Applied Weapons Technology and picked up these AWT Sniper Gray aluminum smooth scales. And let me tell you something. To me, they made the knife 100% different. The action is great. The ergonomics are great. Kept the original deep carry clip on it. These jimping on the scales match up perfectly with the liners. But the profile changes. It looks like a different knife, and it actually holds and I think enhances the feel of the Mini Adamas. I've put the original scales back on it, carried it for a while, and then came back to the aluminum. They are a little more weighty, not a lot, but this to me is a hard use tool, right? I wouldn't mind batoning this through wood if I had to. I would release my lock because there's no need to put stress on it. But the smoothness of this knife with these aluminum scales and the way it feels, the way it looks, the Mini Adamas, kind of like the Mini Loco, is not a mini like the Mini 945. That's not the 945. The Bugout 945 or the Mini Grip. The Mini Adamas or Adamas and the Mini Loco must come from much bigger parents. So the Mini Adamas is again right over 7.5 inches, whereas our other minis are going to come in right over 6.5 inches, right under 7 inches. So the Mini Adamas, a Zieba design tactical folder that I think is just an absolute winner. A great knife. I mean, really, it's as good as you could want for a harder use. Maybe not an office carry, but either the Mini Loco or this Zieba designed. I think this is just so tactical feeling. I mean, you've got jimping here on the back. You've got an excellent reverse grip, Slurpee Saver grip. You've got a knife that will not just cut, but it's crew wear, so it sharpens up like an absolute laser for as thick as that grind is. It's just a get it done knife. I love it. One of my favorite Benchmades. Love the scales. Love the momentum of the blade, the way it swings shut and swings into action. It's just a mad win. So that's the Benchmade Adamas with Applied Weapons Tech scales. And moving on, we come to the last Benchmade. And this is a knife that I traded for with Brother Dark Gravity. This is a knife I'd never seen before. This is a knife that I don't think still in production. I think you could find them at certain knife stores. This is the Benchmade Vallet. The Benchmade Vallet is giving me reverse flick trouble, so I'm going to go back and just thumb flick it, which is what it's set up for. You can reverse finger flick it when you get on the stud. I've just been flicking these other knives, so it's kind of out of place. But this little guy is in G10, got a really unique deep carry clip. I look at this as a great little gentleman's folder Benchmade. It is small, about the size of the mini Bugout, but it's thin. It's got an M390 blade. To me, like I say, it's a gentleman's folder. It's a work knife. It's an office knife. It's an everyday carry cutting knife. Or it's a smaller fifth pocket knife, and you know, an auxiliary carry to something. But the ergos are very neutral. The blade, I think, is done very well. Again, M390 steel, which I don't see on Benchmade that much. But yeah, just a little banger. Great reverse flick. I just forget on this one that you've got to position your finger kind of towards the bottom and fire it up. Or just to keep it easy on yourself, the thumb flick is fail-proof. You literally just, you've got this little channel here. You simply set your thumb on top of it, as I fail it, and flip it out. Great little knife, small package, probably closer to the size of a 945 in thickness or height, but even thinner than that. Highly recommend it. You can still find them, I think, in different shops and maybe on websites. You don't see them that often. It's the Benchmade Vallet. I think it's super cool. Great little knife. And we will now move on out of Benchmade Corner, and we will come to the second row, which has my prized possession, my Michael Zieba S5 Odin. So the S5 was Blade Show 2020's Tactical Knife of the Year. They weren't full dress like this. This one has a jeweled backspacer, either crafted out of bronze, I think, those skulls. It also comes with a lanyard on the case that has a big skull like that. You've got all this different artwork that is all representative of the Norse god Odin. You've got these ruins that I don't know what they mean. You've got all this imagery from little stick figures to crows to skulls to blades to the god of Odin, to trees and octopuses. The more you look at it, the more detail you can see in this artwork. On the back, you've got kind of this vicious, this kind of profile view of a skull of Odin, a Thor-type hammer, another crow, a flaming skull, Till Valhalla. And then you open it up, and you're greeted with this M390 Jason Knight DLC-coated blade from Knight Knives. And then when you look inside, on the back side of that jeweled backspacer, you can see that you've got another ruin with a mystery, because I don't know what it means, written in it. Frame lock, drop shut action, flipper actuated. One of the smoothest knives I've got, and probably one of my most prized possessions. I picked this up from Brother Dark Gravity, but I was with him when he bought it at the Nashville Custom Knife Show. We sat there and we talked to Michael Zieba for quite a while. Dark Gravity was trying to decide on the pattern. After he got this and brought it home, my buddy A to Z EDC, local Huntsville buddy, who went to Blade Show with us, got on Zieba's website and bought one of the ones that he brought back from the show. He was able to get the same table price because they kind of talked about it. He wanted to think on it, and Michael was fine with it. Showed him the ones he was taking back to Brooklyn. You've even got this little print that I don't even know what it is on the lock bar relief. But guys, this is just an absolutely fantastic knife. Carries great. I don't cut a lot with it. I should, but you've got that white wicked blood groove. You've got that wicked fuller. You've got this thick tip. And this is, in any way, shape, or form, a tactical knife. A fighting knife, a self-defense knife. It just happens to be a very nice version of that knife. So, second to, or no, we got two more. But this is the Michael Zieba S5 Odin edition. And it is also very, very slicey. A little bit of recurve there. Drop point blade. Big fan. So moving on, we come to my Crosshatch Strider that Brother Scotch and Things helped me acquire. This knife is an absolute banger. I love this knife. It is very, very rugged. It is very hard use. I have beat it through some different stuff. For me, beating it through is whittling wood with it, opening packages with it, jabbing it into stumps and taking pictures, stuff like that. It's a steel I haven't used before. PD number 1, USA steel, USA knife, M Strider on the blade, G10 handle. It's really broken in nicely. The action is fantastic. There's 0 lock stick. It came with lock stick, but that broke in. The ergos on this knife are second to none. The choil is just inviting, and that's almost where you're supposed to put your hand. And then the reverse grip is absolutely cash money. Devastating with that thumb rest. But the Strider SnG is, I now know what the hype's about. I didn't get it before. I was never a Strider guy. I kind of am now. I appreciate them. I love this knife. Huge fan. Appreciate Scotch and Things for looking out for me and finding me a deal. But we are moving to the last knife of box number 1. Or, yeah, video number 1, box number 3. And it, guys, is my aluminum Microtech Stitch Ramlock. Great deep carry clip. This is number 92, 09-2023 is the born on date. It's got M390 MK, which is that Microtech proprietary type steel. It's a Borka blade collaboration. The ergonomics of this knife are insane. It has the sharpest blade of any factory knife in my collection. Even though the geometry is a little thicker, this knife is sharp. It is pokey. It is a splinter digger. And it is an absolute slurpy saver. I love it. It feels like a real tool. The value on this knife, it's not by any means a cheap knife, not an inexpensive knife, but for what it is, a made in America, manual stitch, it's $300 knife in aluminum and M390 MK. I think it's just a huge, huge winner. I'm a big fan. And this box, I think, will probably be, hopefully, your guys' most entertaining box of knives that I've got. Well, we got to get into the EDC fixed blades, too. So I know some of y'all are going to really dig that. And some of you guys are going to really dig the traditionals. But this is box number 3, our Made in the USA box, or our premier Made in the USA box. And the reason you're going to see a lot of the same models in the same videos is that's how my ADHD brain categorizes my knives and my cases. So I keep my Benchmades kind of together. Mini Locos. We'll just switch these out. We got the 940. We've got our 945, little brother. We've got our Benchmade Bugout. We've got our Benchmade Mini Bugout. And we've got our Benchmade Mel Pardew, 20 CV, sweet little mini Griptilian. So guys, that is our first video of our USA box number 3. I appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate you checking out the content. Appreciate each and every one of you. If you're still here, thank you for watching. And please look out for the guy or gal to your left. Please look out for the guy or gal to your right. Please look out for each other. Go forward with love in your heart and choose debate, not hate. I love you all. Peace.